Hello, everybody. Good evening. My name is Jennifer Wharton. And if you're unfamiliar with who I am, let me introduce myself. I'm a bass trombonist, and I frequented the big band on the Jazz Cruise for a number of years. And I happen to be married to that tall mustache trombone player named John Fedchuk, who you may also know. I do a lot of Broadway. I live in Queens, New York, and I lead my own big band called Bonegasm. And tonight we're talking to the awesome Bria Skonberg.
Hello.
So I'm going to take just a brief moment for people that might not be as familiar with you as our normal Jazz Cruise attendee. But this is Bria. She is something of a neighbor of mine, if you can call New York City a neighborhood.
Just over there.
She's somebody that has always dazzled me with her authenticity as an artist and as a human. And if you've ever spoken to Bria, you know what I'm talking about. She's warm and welcoming as her golden voice, and her trumpet playing seems effortless and, might I say, old-souled. Described as one of the most versatile and imposing musicians of her generation by the Wall Street Journal. Bria has been a band leader since her teens. She's performed at over 100 festivals and stages all over the world and won a slew of awards and accolades along the way. The New York Times has called her the shining hope of hot jazz. To that end, Bria has been at the forefront of its revival, both as a performer and educator. She co-founded the New York Hot Jazz Camp in 2015. And this whole conversation tonight could be just me talking about how awesome she is. But I'm going to stop doing as much talking and just see where we end up. And I want to talk to you just about your latest project, which isn't a musical project. You know, you birthed it. Tell us what you've been doing during the pandemic.
We're going to jump right in. All right. Yes. Well, you know, everything has changed for a lot of us. But especially at this time when everything is all unsettled, I also had a major life change and have a 4-month-old baby, almost asleep in the other room, and a patient partner, thankfully. Yeah, that's so many big things have been happening. But you know, we're jazz musicians. We're improvising life, navigating changes. That's the way that I'm just trying to keep my head afloat, keep positive in this time. And I'm, again, just happy to have things like this to look forward to and ways to interact with people. But yeah, I have an awesome little dude who's really funny.
That's Wiley, right? It's such a cool name. Where did that come from? Family name?
No, not at all. We just like the open sound of it. Wiley, it's smiley. And found out after, Wiley Post was the first person to fly around the world solo. So it's an adventuresome, it's a little crafty, a little artsy. Wiley Booker, middle name for Booker T, Booker Little, you know, Washington, lots of inspiration there.
Well, that's so cool. It's I love when people name their children interesting names, you know, because I'm a Jennifer. So when I was always in school with at least 3 other Jennifers in the class that I was like, not just my whole entire senior class. It was like literally the class that I sat in my English class.
Right.
There will be 3 other Jennifers. So,
and W, you probably were like at the end of the alphabet.
Yeah. You spoke briefly about him, but I would love to talk to you about your spouse, because like you, I am married to a fabulous person. He's my favorite person on the face of the planet. I get the sense that you guys have that kind of relationship too.
Oh my, digging in. All right. We were on the time that I was on the Jazz Cruise. I was very lucky to bring my spouse, and a lot of people got to know him. Yeah, you know, I think it's important to be with somebody that you have a lot of fun with. We're driving each other crazy in just the right ways. We both love cooking and eating. God, get out of here. On the internet. All right.
You can thank Lee for that.
Oh my goodness. That is a rare photo. So I'm okay. We've already dug in. I'm pretty private about my private life, but we allowed only one photographer at our wedding, and that was from the New York Times. So I guess I'm busted on that front.
Yeah, you know, once it's out there, I'm the exact opposite. I'm an oversharer, a classic oversharer. I actually put up as a joke on Facebook. I said, we're going to be live in 15 minutes. So the game is you got to grab, whatever drink, whether it's water or it's soda or it's grape juice.
Yeah.
And drink every time I say something stupid. So.
Oh, excuse me. No, no, just kidding.
Well, that's, I just think it's so cool to feel supported because, in what we do, it can be really hard on relationships of all types, family relationships when you're always canceling, holiday plans, and friendships when you can never hang out because you've always got a gig, and, the closest relationships to us with the spouse. So I do, go ahead.
With the amount, practicing at home, especially brass musicians, we make a lot of really funny noises. Not always, not always pleasant. But you guys obviously knew that going in.
Yeah, it's funny. I practice open horn all the time, and I do it between 10 and 10 just to kind of respect my neighbors because we're in a house, but we're attached on both sides. But John never practices open horn. He's always in a mute, really? Which is, but he's done that for years. He did that when he was on the road. So
what mute does he use?
He has several. I just bought him a new mute. I don't have it over here. It's a Christian Rehano mute. He's a trombone player in the LA Phil. Sorry, we're getting a little inside baseball here. Mute. No, but I love the best brass mute. That's and then ProTech makes a good version of that. It's a little bit louder, but whatever.
Yeah.
All right, so we covered mutes, we covered babies, spouses. Tell me just, when COVID hit, everything canceled. What was your first thought?
Man, I was scheduled to go the next day up to Canada for some award show and to see my family, which I was really looking forward to, and haven't seen them since, obviously. But I feel lucky that my mind state just did a very quick pivot and focused on, okay, not what can't I do, but what can I do right now? So yes, like everybody, the calendar just disseminated. All of the gigs and stuff got moved a few months later at that time. But immediately I started doing these live streams on Facebook, and I had never really done that before. I've gotten to a place in my concerts where I've well thought out the pacing, the moods, like lighting cues here and there, really have it down when to talk, when to not talk, as my spouse really encourages. That's a big part of it. Anyway, so immediately I didn't overthink it. I just started live streaming, and, trumpet is a wonderful instrument, but a single note instrument. Not everybody wants to hear it all the time, myself included. So I've been reconnecting with playing some keyboard. I've got a ukulele over here, shakers, different things, singing, clapping, whatever I could do to just kind of feel like I was creating, feel inspired, and connect with other people. And it ended up being fantastic. For 6 months straight, I did two a week, and really just connected with a wonderful group of people that I hope many of them, or some of them at least, are watching this right now. And it kept.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What do you think you're going to take, if anything goes back to normal, whatever normal ends up being, right? What do you think you're going to take from this time and bring it into, our normal thing that we do?
I think definitely wanting to always make sure my audience gets involved in it as well. Sing-alongs, some sort of interactive element, I think is very important because I feed off of that as well. Also being a little bit more fearless about things. Like I started on piano before I played trumpet, but I was always way too nervous or shy to work it into the set. Only in the last, few shows I would do an encore on piano here and there, playing and singing, but that's terrifying to me. So at least now I know there's a whole bunch of mediocre piano playing going out into the world. But you do what you got to do to keep going. And it seemed to, again, create a wonderful community. And these people generously supported me through tips and whatnot for 6 months. And that made all the difference.
Yeah, it's been amazing, the amount of people that I know really well and don't know that well that have reached out to try and say, okay, what can we do? In fact, I just got my first commission.
Congratulations.
I know, it's pretty crazy. It's a couple of folks out in California that I actually met on the jazz cruise. They contacted me and said, how can we commission you? And I said, yes, you can. Oh, yes, you can.
Yeah.
And it's a deal where, so I write the tune and then my husband arranges it, which, yeah, it's pretty neat. And I think I mentioned this yesterday when we sort of met to do a pre-hang for today. And I went back to school during all this. This one of the ways that I decided to use my time, because I'm probably a lot like you. I can't, if I don't have something to do, I kind of lose my mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I went back to school and I'm really digging the writing aspect of it. So I'm hoping for my next album for my band, it'll be a lot of my writing, if it doesn't suck too bad.
I forget who said it, but if I'm going to play obscure music, it may as well be my own. I can play 1917 hits by Jelly Roll Morton, or I can play this other song you've never heard. That's fine.
It's funny how when we consider the sort of corner that we have in the music arena, jazz is a very small part of it. It used to be a huge part of it, but now it's a very small part of it. But I think you as trumpeter / vocalist can grab a much bigger piece of the pie, which is, I wanted to talk to you about that because I actually didn't know you started on piano. I thought you started on trumpet, but you played trumpet before you sang. I think I read in an interview you started singing maybe in high school, like you did a play or something. Is that right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I know you don't have any pictures of that.
No.
Hard to find. Actually, so I loved singing as a kid, but again, I was too shy to do it openly. I think, a lot of us feel that way. But playing trumpet gave me, a community and some opportunities to perform, which helped me gain some confidence. So yes, by 9th grade is when I made my singing debut and I tried out for the school play and I was Sandy in Greece, baby.
And you, yeah.
Do you? That song is so hip. So good. That's right. Something stupid.
Oh no, that was me.
Like I love you.
You're really supposed to drink when I say something stupid. Well, no, wait. You can drink whenever you want.
Deal.
Well, that is really cool. And if I could share, I'm not a singer, but I did sing a tune on my first album, and it literally, because it was kind of a joke. I came home before our very first gig, and I said, I heard this tune. It's called Big Long Sliding Thing, and
yes, that's a good.
I'm gonna sing it. And John's like, no, you're not. You don't sing. And I'm like, I'm doing it. And so I forced him to write an arrangement, and we did it. And so I put it at the end of the album. I'm like, no one's gonna get that far. It was the first tune they played on the radio, and now I can't do a gig without someone saying, "Are you gonna sing?" No, I don't want to sing. But it's like a door into a whole other world that I can only imagine your fan base just exponentially increased.
Definitely, and those are some choices I make when especially with recordings. They're predominantly vocal. It is what I'm feeling, and it's also great for radio. Mm-hmm. When you come to a show, we'll stretch. Everything gets stretched. We play solos. I actually, in live performance, I lead with trumpet, and in recorded performance, I lead with vocal. I don't know. Don't need to overanalyze.
It's smart.
Yeah, but it's it's such an essential tool for learning how to play. You do a lot of teaching. Do you vocalize in your lessons?
Oh yeah. Well, one of the major. Do I even have it? I have it laying around. So this is my Desert Island book for trombone, a Melodious Etudes for trombone, and it's based on the Bordoni Vocalize book. So they're all singing etudes that trombone players play all the time. Trombone and the human voice are so close.
Sure.
And you hear trombone choir, it might as well be a church choir.
Yeah.
It's pretty deep.
Yeah.
So we sing all the time.
all that air support, resonance. I mean, they're really side by side, and that's something that, you know, I do talk about a lot of masterclass workshops. Just the sooner you can unlink, you can open that up, the more your playing will come together, because ultimately the instrument is just an amplifier for your own ideas. You know, we want to hide behind it, but it doesn't make the notes happen. You know, you create.
Well, people get caught up in the technical aspect of playing when they'll oftentimes play something in a way that they would never sing it.
Right. Yeah.
Which is really backwards.
How you sound like a robot.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, I dig that, I just think you're really smart about the choices that you've made, whether they were accidental or on purpose. You know, I'm guessing there were, you know, sometimes both, you know, just picking a choice and whatever, but it's really impressive. There aren't a ton of female trumpet players doing what you do. There's not a ton, and especially trumpet, I think way more, and sorry to go into the woman thing here, but there's way more of a stigma with female trumpet players than there is even with female trombone players. You know, and I came up and kind of had some stuff. I mean, we all have war stories, but it sounds like, and I think what I remember from me interviewing you on the Jazz Cruise, we had that panel, which was super fun. Yeah. The first time I really got a chance to, you know, talk to you in kind of a deep way. Yeah, there we are. Hey. I wish I still fit into that.
Oh my God. Lisa, Anita, and Rini, awesome.
I know, but it sounds like you had such a supportive atmosphere that you came up in, not from the schooling to your folks to everything, and it goes to show you like what the combination of talent and the support system, you know, how far you can go and how many people don't have that. You know, and if you could talk about that just to let people know, you know, how that all happened.
You know, I think one of the greatest things for me is that my teachers and my parents never made a thing about it. And also, for whatever reason, maybe the water in British Columbia, Canada, where I grew up, there were at least 5 other girls playing trumpet beside me. You know, when I graduated, my 2 best friends were in the jazz band, these girls next to me. My other best friend played lead alto. And then going into college, the lead trumpet player was a woman. And obviously the legend of Ingrid Jensen from that part of the world. You're like, well, okay, I'm not that special because this master comes from this spot. So with all that in mind, you know, I wasn't as self-aware about that, which is, again, didn't get in the way of my playing as much, which is just wonderful. And then I had a couple of just supportive mentors that took me under the wing, and again, never made that a thing. I think as I've gotten older and, you know, you look over your shoulder, like, wait, where are the girl trumpet players? Like,
yeah.
Hold on, where are they? There should have been more by now. There should have been, you know, I am unique. By this state of my career, I probably shouldn't be that unique, to be honest. Like, where are they? And so now I've just been trying to be more proactive of like finding them and going, what information do I have that I can give you, or how can I help you, you know, put some pieces together so that you can have some of the opportunities that I did, you know. Yeah, whatever we can do.
It's like an example of if you can see it, you can be it, you know. Yeah. And not necessarily that you need that, but it makes it a lot more possible.
Absolutely. You know? And if there are other, you know, young trumpet players out there right now that think I have information that you can glean, just write me a message and we'll talk, you know.
I always do that too. I tell every time I give a master class or a clinic or something, I'm like, any questions, let me know. But I feel like it's changing, but I still hear stories that just break my heart, you know, from younger musicians, just kind of old ideas that need to be thrown away. And luckily for me, well, I'll tell you a story. It's sort of interesting. And I don't know if you've ever felt this, but like as a female bass trombone player in New York City, I was the female bass trombone player in New York City for many years. And then all of a sudden I wasn't. So I kind of went through like a crisis of faith. Like, who am I if I'm not the female bass trombone player?
Sure.
And Ingrid Jensen gave me some really good advice. And she was like, you need to have something that's your own. And as soon as I did that, I was like, okay, I can chill the hell out.
Right. Yeah.
And I feel like you've always had that because you've always been a band leader.
Yes.
I mean, you do other stuff, but you're
that's true.
Yeah.
And I could say, I watched a Jazz and Gender panel recently. Terry Lynn Carrington was on. Obviously, she's a super woman and, making headway in this whole arena. But she admitted too, and I guess I have felt this too, where you like being the exception. I wasn't as I got more into the jazz world, I was the only girl most of the time. And yeah, you do like that. There are elements of that that you do like, but you have to get to a place where you ask those questions. Why am I? And I really shouldn't be, at this point. So yeah, we're working proactively on that. I forget what you just asked me. I'm sorry.
No, this is all good. Anything is fine. Let's drink.
Cheers to that.
Cheers. This is good. I am drinking Is it irony? Irony.
Nice.
I said irony.
Irony.
Is it irony or I can't.
Irony.
I literally have not had that much. I don't know how I say that word.
No, I know. I have an extra sparkling kombucha. And I was talking with Lee Mergner before this. We have the matching glass, wine and jazz, which I believe is from the Longwood Gardens set. There's a wine and jazz festival down in Pennsylvania, which is just awesome.
I mean, you can't go wrong with wine. It's like whiskey and jazz. That's also not a bad idea.
Yeah.
And cigars and jazz. Not that I partake.
And jazz, cruises and jazz, and and jazz, and
well, we had to pretend like we were on the boat.
I know.
Well, let's. I wanted to. Okay, so I do have a couple like trumpety questions. I mentioned my school. I'm going to New Jersey City University. And I asked the trumpet studio if they had any questions because, yeah. So there were 2 questions and hopefully they'll be of some interest to our watchers. So what would you consider to be 2 of the most important elements in your practice routine that you play every day and why do you play them?
Technical. All right.
I'm sure everyone's taking copious notes.
Yeah. Great question. So I'll go quick and say, I layer my practice routines. I basically start with, making sure that my air is in check and then deal with embouchure. This exercise, I do have a trumpet here.
Yeah.
I also want to say it's amazing. I think that both of us are wearing just a little bit of lip stain, which never ever happens.
Never.
I never ever wear anything on my lips.
I know that's a brass player thing, folks. So yeah. We never wear lipstick ever, except for photos or stuff like this where we don't think we're going to be playing.
Yeah. So maybe anyway, but now since you asked and I have students on the line, let's talk. Let's trumpet talk.
Yeah.
Doing the thing called like blowing through the tubes. I mean, ultimately what I do for a living is go like this through a brass tube. So by taking out the lead pipe, you get to really feel you can link your air with your embouchure and understand the harmonic series, more how this instrument even works, where the breaking points are, and focus on just how much air you need to kind of get to that next partial. Playing through the tubes without the lead pipe, that is something that I think has revolutionized my playing in the last couple of years, just for eliminating tension, and being able to kind of access a little bit more range. That is a big part of it. And right now I'm doing a lot of flexibility exercises too. And flexibility meaning just going in between 2 notes. With your air, we're all the technical here, but flexibility, air, blowing through the tubes, embouchure, and flexibility are kind of my biggest priorities right now, just so I can keep the basic maintenance together. I also dig into articulation and dexterity as much as possible. And those are more than 2 things, but I'll finish this by saying every practice session should have a strong element of music making and joy in it too. Once I do once I do all that nitty gritty work, I make sure I play something that I actually enjoy, love doing. I don't love practicing. So I try to, sorry teachers out there that you tell your students to practice. People that are like, I practice 6 to 10 hours a day, not this person. Can't stand it. So,
this is why we're friends. I don't like to practice either.
And who's got time? And especially not these days, I want to just isolate my weaknesses, address them, and move on with my life. So
I became really good at sight reading because I hate practicing.
There you go. Yeah.
But it's funny because you do blowing through the tubes. Now, trombone players, we could take the slide off, but it's more laborious. So we just do mouthpiece buzzing all the time.
Sure.
And it's a great diagnostic tool because if something's not wrong on the mouthpiece, but it's wrong on the horn, it makes it easier to fix. But, right. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. The second question is how do you balance your practicing when you have busy stretches of gigs and traveling?
Yeah.
Can you remember back that far? Pre-COVID times?
In my day. Well, I think, easier said than done, but practicing with a plan will better economize your time. You just don't have a lot of time all the time. And for me, it's more about also when you get to the gig and you have 20 minutes and you're supposed to warm up, not even maybe 10 minutes, and you have to warm up and for a 90-minute concert or something, and you just don't want to do damage. You want to have that. So again, much like I was just talking about, I layer air, embouchure, flexibility, those things right off the bat. That kind of sets me up at least to be like, it's like stretching out before a sports game or running or something, just to make sure that you have that fluidity, that flexibility, so you don't do any damage.
It's kind of like a way to diagnose too, like where your face is on that specific day.
You know what? The last time when I was on the jazz cruise, I took a lesson with James Morrison, and he said that he never warms up. I'm like, of course you don't. You're one of the world's greatest trumpet players. Why would you possibly have to? But he says that, whatever he's playing, he's so good at self-assessing where, either things need a little more attention, and then he plays things that challenge or stretch it out. So yes, that's a big part. I think being the expert on you, paying attention to what's happening and not just be on autopilot the whole time will save you time in the long run too. So.
I kind of approach it even sort of the way I teach, where I like to, there's general stuff that we all do. There's, trumpet players do Clark studies, trombone players do these Roche exercises, but I like to base exercises off of what students are working on or what I'm working on. I just wrote a piece trying to work in some like hexatonic triads on a chord progression that I'm trying to play over. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I've gotten it yet, but it's I'm trying to combine more things because I tell people in school this all the time. You will never have more time than you have when you're in school. Yeah. Even if you're working, you still won't have more time.
And aside from right now, like the rehearsal space, like a big room to play in, and with your bandmates, with kits and all the stuff for free. That stuff is not to be taken for granted.
Yeah. So I'm just like, learn how to economize everything now. So when you only have 10 minutes to warm up at a gig, you know exactly what to do.
Yeah, and like you said, write stuff that you can't play. Write exercises that challenge your weaknesses so that you can dig through them. And practice with a metronome. Practicing with a metronome, I think, is extremely important for staying on task and marking your progress.
Say it louder for people in the back. Okay, so get your drinks ready because I'm about to say something questionable.
Uh-oh.
Okay, I have a vagina.
Get out.
And so do you. I'm assuming that you are like me and you want to do everything you can. We sort of touched on this earlier, but you want to do everything you can to support young women, young folks coming up, right? What I've struggled with is that all of my strongest connections and relationships in music are with men, just because of the sheer lack of, at times lack of other female musicians, but also kind of just who I spent the most time with,
Yeah.
you know? So I know you've had outlets where you can hire other people. And of course I hire people, female musicians, when I'm able, and I recommend them. But it's been far and few between for like my own band. I wonder if you have the same sort of, like, I'm tied up in knots about it frequently, even though I know I'm sorry, what?
About who to hire?
Yeah, I'm not who to hire, but just that I'm not walking the walk or talking the talk in every single aspect of my life. Like, I feel like I'm doing it to a certain extent, but like, you know, my band is full of dudes and full of white dudes to be, you know, and it's something that I struggle with, trying to be a good person and a good musician and a good, you know, as much as I don't want to be a role model, some people might see me as some form of that, you know, and I get called out for like even the name of my band because it's sort of suggestive, and, you know, think of all the young girls that are going to be offended by Phonegasm.
What? I don't get it.
But I struggle with trying to be like the best advocate and the best supportive person that I can be, and yet still be true to like my musical desires and wants. Mm-hmm. And I just wondered if you feel any of that.
I mean, I guess you care enough to talk about it. You know, I make an effort. To, you know, promote diversity within my own group because, well, I mean, but I don't, you know, they're the people that I hear, the people that I, it's the people behind that and the music that they play and the skill set that they have that I really focus on. But we can always do more. I mean, and if this last year has just brought all those feelings to the surface even more. So yeah, you can do more. You know what? And just, it's not that hard if you decide. It's really not that hard if you decide to do it. You know, it's hard if you have relationships with the people in your band and you're like, well, if I just cut them out of the band now for this and that reason, that's tricky. But if you have another project coming up, then yes, you know, if it's important to you, then to make, go ahead and make those choices. What I'm thinking of right now, like the Monterey Jazz Festival and Winter Jazz.
That's what I was thinking of.
Winter Jazz Festival, you know, they just made a commitment to saying we want to have 50% of our lineup be women. And then they do it. You decide and you do it. That's fantastic. And you know what? I don't always have women in my band, but now when I do have an opportunity to hire, I will make that happen because the players are out there.
Of course.
So I guess all to say, haven't been perfect. We can always do more, and you can always start right now if it's important to you, or if the people behind the music are the people that you hear in your head too, then that's okay too, you know.
I always think too is that when I've been in bands, because it's typically like I'll just be honest, you know, I have one band and most people make all the gigs. So, you know, on the occasion where someone doesn't make a gig, you know, I have probably 50% of the time hired a woman. But when I'm in bands, because most of my time is spent like in a big band, or I'm being hired for something. I'm not a band leader first and foremost, but I am always intrigued by the opportunities for me to become a better musician, no matter who's sitting next to me. But I appreciate it when it is somebody that I haven't heard before. And frequently that might be a female or a person of color that is sitting next to me that I've never heard before, and then just trying to mesh with them in a way that, you know, I would with anybody else. But I love it getting introduced to musicians that way.
You know, on the bandstand. Music as the great equalizer. I mean,
yeah, because that's the most naked we'll ever be.
yeah. I mean, and I found that too. Like even if they're older guys that, you know, that you're playing next to, as long as you know, you bring it, you play your best, and, you know, do it. If the music's good, I think the respect comes. You know,
of course.
I mean, It can. Some of my greatest mentors and heroes, I studied with Warren Vacher for a couple of years, and he's, a good old, good, crusty, good one, and it took him a while to take me on as a student. I mean, actually, the first time I took a lesson with him, he's like, the last girl that came in here left crying. I was like, okay. And once he realized, I think, that I wasn't going to run away crying, we got to an amazing, beautiful place of trust. Like, I take it seriously and I'm going to work at this, So I don't know. I think
it's cool when you can break someone down like that. Like, you can prove someone like that wrong. Like, he's a salty guy. I like him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are some people that you're just that are never going to get it. And it's not your job to convince them.
Yeah.
You just keep putting air through the horn and play your best. And if the opportunities don't come, start your own band. That's it. I feel lucky that, right out of high school, I started managing the group that was together in high school. I started co-leading it with one of the other players, and getting right into the business side of things. And, I don't get a lot of flack when I'm the one writing the checks. I gotta say,
it's nice.
So I think that's, you can always, I try to look to create opportunities if they don't exist elsewhere, if for whatever reason.
Yeah. I would like to invite anybody that's watching to comment if you like. I'm sort of keeping an eye on it. I haven't seen any questions. I just see compliments. So well done, us.
Oh, I didn't know that. Hi. Nikki Perrott was here. Yeah,
I know. Oh, Nikki told me to sing. Oh, God.
Nikki Perrott, world-class vocalist and bassist. One and the same. Yeah.
I only sing dirty songs, though, so there you go. All right. Let's. I don't want to dig too much into you becoming a mother, but I did want to. I thought it was an opportunity to talk to anybody watching about sort of what happens to female musicians or female professionals of any kind, that if they can be our allies in this, would be super cool. I interviewed a friend of mine about 2 years ago when she was pregnant with her second son about this. She's us trombone players, we're typically workhorses. We're like, we're being hired by other people. We're in the trenches. We don't have a lot of say many times about who we're playing with, when we're playing, whatever. We just answer the call when we get the call. So as a female brass player, she saw a dip in the gig calling when she got pregnant, figuring that she wouldn't be able to do it. And then it was a long time before the calls for gigs started coming back. And when she would show up on gigs, it would be like, well, who's taking care of the kids now? As if there's no one else involved in this process. But a man whose wife just had a kid would never be asked that question.
Sure.
And just kind of, allowing everybody to sort of see, like, hey, if someone's on a gig, let's just talk about the music for a second,
well,
not.
At this point, if I play a gig with somebody who I know has kids, let alone a woman who has kids, mad respect. I don't know. It's such a juggle. Look at me. I'm sitting in another room in my apartment. And it was like, okay, I need to get this prepared. I need to get this. Like, I just need to make sure all these pieces are in place so that I can sit here and talk. Like, it's wild. And like single parents, oh my God, it's wild. It's crazy. But yeah, I mean, I guess if there's a stigma around it, it's totally unnecessary. One of the beautiful things about this COVID, obviously I didn't have to go anywhere or do anything. I didn't have to, deal with even the physical aspects of touring while getting more immobile, gaining a lot of weight. Didn't have to explain, didn't have to pass through any rumors about how fat I'm getting and whatever. Yeah, it's been a really interesting time for me to focus more on how the body works, where air goes, what muscles are connected, how your diaphragm, moves and pushes. And I've just been like meticulously thinking about those things, and I could, really follow my own progress week by week up until a certain point. So from physical side, I have experience with that. Now with the as far as opportunities, I fortunately didn't have to deal with that, so I can't speak to it as much. But I will say again, if somebody's on a gig that has kids, they have moved mountains to be there, and do them a favor, and just play the music. See a picture and then move on. Let them have that time.
I was on a tour with Ingrid Jensen of Canada. In fact, it was Darcy James Argue's big band, and we were on tour. And that kid, 6 months after she had the baby, the kid came along because both Ingrid and her husband play in the band. And so we just show up places, and Ingrid's like, "All right, who's watching the kid?" So that kid has probably traveled more than I have in my life. And she's so neat just because she is so traveled. She got a lot of opportunities that, most of us would only dream of when we were kids, but she's a really neat kid, and the way they raised her was pretty cool. And I hope, you get to do whatever formation of your career with child is. I hope that happens. Whether it's bringing him along or not, I hope that goes however you want it to go.
Most definitely. Yeah. He's already inspiring a lot of new creativity. And Ingrid is just so badass. Her and Christine together, her sister, they're amazing. She's one of the people that I would call and feel like, okay, because some of the questions are like, so when can I start playing again? Like, it's hard to project what the recovery time will be. Again, fortunately, everything's been off the books for months and months. But Ingrid's just great because she's just like, oh, you'll be fine. Now you'll be fine. Just get through it,
I remember they even tried to potty train her when she was 6 months old, because that's a European thing, right?
Really? All right.
They would make a noise and the baby would go, and they're like, well, she doesn't want to wet herself, But then that got screwed up because of travel and whatever. But
human beings are adaptable.
It's
if you
pretty neat.
I just saw in the comments there's a young bass player. Hey, Casey from Capilano University. It's my alma mater in Vancouver. Even from the very room that our big band practiced in. So hi.
Oh, that's what he's referring to?
Yeah.
FR 110.
Yeah. Hey,
that's
cool. Yeah.
I have a friend of mine, David, is saying Mosquito Grande. He's saying, for us non-musicians and music lovers, what is a hexatonic triad? That is when you take two chords and you put them together to make sense over two triads, which are three. God, help me. You see a chord symbol and you decide you're going to play six notes over it. That's it. Yeah.
Hold on, shoot.
And she demonstrated beautifully. Yay.
Sounds like this. No.
Anita says, any war stories you'd like to share about performances, places, non-named people in jazz? No, you know what? I don't want to go dark on this because this is a fun and light conversation and we're all moving in the right direction. But I will ask you, what is your weirdest gig?
Weirdest gig. Let's see. There are really a few. When I first moved to New York, the first year was just amazing. It's all been amazing, but the first year was like hit the ground running, and nobody knew what I had done before. Nobody knew either what my specialties were, and so I'm just get to say yes to any opportunity and jump in. But I remember being asked to go to this like a warehouse in Williamsburg. And all I knew is that I had to bring a trumpet and we had to wear flannel plaid shirts. And that was it. And okay. So I ended up playing with this like really early trad jazz band on top of like what was a mushroom it was a Hendrix gin party, and they had souped up this whole just this whole warehouse is like a fantastical place. And there was we were playing with a musical saw. There was an aerialist. There were like stilts walkers, all sorts of stuff. That was a really impressionable moment, early on, just to see that. I felt like Alice in Wonderland and just kind of had to come up through the ground. So that one's really, I don't know. How about you?
I played, I used to do Chinese funerals in San Francisco. Those are weird.
Yeah. In the middle of the day.
Huh?
Do they happen in the middle of the day?
Yeah.
I feel like I know some people that have done that.
My record is 5 in one day.
Yeah.
Yeah. We worked out of a mortuary. You would walk down and grab, you had to dress in a black suit with a white shirt and a black tie. And then you borrow these hats that look like Coast Guard hats. And it was a union gig. Mm-hmm. And I actually started, that's how I got my start on Broadway. Is the contractor for all the out-of-town Broadway shows in San Francisco. That's how I met him. And he hired me for my very first gig, which was Wicked before it came to Broadway.
So 5 in a day, by the fourth one, are you still feeling like you're lifting spirits or?
Oh no, it was weird on a number of levels, and I don't know how deep I should go in because I hope that no one will get in trouble. But there was a lot of drinking, and not me, because I didn't really drink at that time. There was a lot of drinking between the funerals at the bar, the Irish pub across the street. There was a lot of inappropriate behavior. there was making because some people would hire people to come and cry if they were really important. They would hire people to wail at the funeral, and and
crying on demand, or did they were like cutting onions and just kind of like
it was like over the top weeping, emoting, crying, like So it was full body crying, and some musicians would make fun of them. That was pretty great. And I also got paid. I did a BAM benefit that Jennifer Lawrence was at.
Yeah, great.
But all I did was sit in a sailor costume and play a note on tuba I was on a pedestal with a spotlight on me, and just to sound like a foghorn, I played one note.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone is asking, when is your jazz camp going to be back live in New York?
Thank you for asking. So yes, we mentioned the New York Hot Jazz Camp. It's not live in New York yet. We had to cancel last spring, but we are doing a virtual jazz camp April 16th to 18th. So I'm in the midst of planning that right now with my co-director, Molly Ryan, who's a fantastic vocalist, also rhythm guitar player. And you can find out about that at nyhotjazzcamp.com. Maybe our great friend Kaylee. Yes, good work. Put that in there. We have a whole bunch of master classes lined up with great local players, people that have been on the cruise too. Ken Popowski, Kat Russell. We've got a class on small band arranging. Stefan Rambel is going to do his presentation on Django Reinhardt. Dion Tucker, trombonist, is doing talking more about the art of ensemble, which is, the beauty of New Orleans and early jazz is really collective improv at the same time, making sense of it as well. So Nikki Perrott, who's in the chat, she's done some teaching for us, and she's always delightful. So when you say, when will your jazz camp be back live in New York? That we do not know. Let's keep our fingers crossed for.
Say 2022.
Yeah, let's say that. In the meanwhile, lots more to do.
Can we take a moment to just love on Ken Popowski and his whole existence?
I hate that guy. Just kidding.
What a jerk.
I tell him, I love him. He's so kind. He's like a grandfather to me. I just
want to put him in my pocket because he's so funny.
Yeah.
I want to take him everywhere with me, not to just hear his fabulous playing, but because he's so hilarious. We've talked to him a couple times throughout the pandemic, and he's been fun. I'm going to propose a toast to the existence of Ken Popowski.
Ken Popowski.
Without him, the jazz cruise would be lost.
Mm-hmm.
Cheers, Ken. Anything else that you would like to mention? We're sort of 8:52. I don't, there's no like significant stop time that we have to, commit to, but I want to make sure to get everything you want to talk about in. So have at it.
Let's see. Well, yeah, I do. We mentioned the album before, my most recent album, which seems like it's from another millennium at this point because we've all been through so much. It's called Nothing Never Happens. It's easily streamed. You can find it on my website. All of my albums are available, signed versions. Hey, dun, 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 right there.
And she has very good merch, so please hit. Tell everyone what your website is.
BriaSkonberg.com. If you Google Bria Trumpet, it's just easier than spelling my last name, and you'll still find me. I have plungers and socks, yay! And there's my prompts. And
I love it.
Lots of fun stuff. Lots of fun stuff to keep you cozy.
Oh man, I've been pronouncing your last name wrong for years.
You're not the first or last. Do not worry.
It's because I like to eat so much that I say scone.
Skonberg. Yes.
Yeah.
That's okay. Sometimes people put the umlaut, the 2 dots over the O, and it's not correct, but it looks exotic, so I don't say anything. But then people come up.
Oh, someone just told me that they're wearing my Bonegasm shirt today. Oh, speaking of merch, Bonegasm shirt. And he said he took it off. He teaches 6th grade band and took it off before his last online class. Whoops. Cheers to that. Oh, look at that. Oh, this is
great. Cheers to that.
Album coming up April 23rd. If anyone is interested, 4 trombones and rhythm section will knock your socks off. It'll knock your nothing never happens socks off.
Cheers to that.
I love merch. I will do anything for a t-shirt, so I can't even tell you how exciting it was to have merch. Isn't it? Did you order like all the samples and you're like, oh my gosh, this is
you're brave. You're more optimistic. I didn't go with the t-shirts because I'm like, where are they gonna go?
Oh, I do print on demand, so I don't have to keep anything here.
I gotta figure that out. that out. And so
Principal. We'll talk.
Bonegasm. What does that make? Trumpet petgasm? I don't know.
What is the first place you're gonna travel when you can?
Home. I'm gonna go to British Columbia and see my family.
It is a beautiful place.
It's a gorgeous place, and but even as you play all over the world, it's not necessarily always where you are; it's who you're with. And yeah, I've been through an extremely mind-bending, life-changing experience in the last year, and I'm looking forward to seeing them and sharing my new family with them too. That and anywhere, just like I'm excited to play outside. I'm excited to play at theaters. I will, maybe I'll just road trip and stop at almost any city on the way back. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a long drive.
Yep.
Yeah. We weren't brave enough to do any live streaming. Oh, we made videos here during the pandemic. We did 2 months of Question of the Day with John Fedchock from Shea Fedchock.
Yeah.
And we did some cocktail videos, which I know you saw.
Yeah.
But we finally did a very first live stream last night, and it was so much fun, especially because I had no idea what was going through the actual video, what people were hearing. And there were some wonkiness in the audio, but it was like totally fun. It just felt so good to see people. That's probably going to be how we can play together for others, sure. until everyone's at a vaccination level that's acceptable. But it was enjoyable. So hopefully, it's going to be more of that. Are you planning any live streams coming up?
Not yet. I'm working on a few things. I have like residencies with the Gene Harris Jazz Festival in Boise, Idaho. I'm putting on a residency, meaning I'm providing a virtual concert, and working master classes with their students. Same with the University in Ohio. I'm looking forward to those things. Again, anything that's interactive, I think gets my juices flowing. Now that things have stabilized a little bit in my life schedule-wise, perhaps I can do another live stream on here. bring back my art. Not that I've been practicing ukulele for months, but it'll.
I hear you don't need to practice it.
No, it's charming. It's very charming.
When you do the live concert, are you gonna film it here in New York?
Oh no, it's all actually it's cool. The students are gonna record their big band charts and then send it to me. And so I'll be doing it probably with a very similar backdrop.
Yeah.
I don't have any concrete plans, maybe a little bit of a couple of ideas for outdoor summer stuff, but like you said, I mean at this point, until we're vaccinated, I'm just kind of laying low and making sure everybody stays healthy.
That is the name of the game. Well, I'm sure when I hope you got some new fans here and reconnected with some old fans on here. Yeah. I'm sure we're all going to be watching fervently when you do put some new stuff up on the old YouTube and the ye old Facebook. And if anyone is in the New York City area and you get an opportunity, there are several places where people do end up playing in the summer, like Bria mentioned. It happened a lot last summer, but they were kind of, everybody was sort of scrambling to get that together. So hopefully it'll be a little bit more organized this year. It looks like we'll still all be outside, which is fine. New York in the summer is bearable.
Yeah,
for the most part.
Till August. Yeah.
I want to thank you, Bria, for letting me ask you some dumb questions and, just sharing some adult beverages with me and your evening with your precious time with me. You have two hot guys sitting there at home with you, and you're deciding to hang out with this mug. So
we're all a hot mess. It's all good. But yeah, just to hang out is great. And thank you so much, the Jazz Cruise, for even existing first and foremost, and for the opportunity.
Anyone is, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're gonna say exactly what I'm.
Oh yeah. If anyone is interested in the Jazz Cruise, it is the most fun you will ever have. It's the most music you'll ever hear in a week. There's no way you could hear this much music, even if you were in New York at any given time. From the level of playing is insane to have in one spot. If that boat sank, we would lose like half of the jazz artists. I know, I'm not jinxing it,
but yeah, drink to that. After not seeing live music for a year or more, the Jazz Cruise will be like the perfect way to re-enter and just like fill up the tank again.
Yeah, and I'm sure everybody's probably going to be vaccinated, so we'll all just have to worry about the norovirus at that time, like we always do. Just, hand sanitizer, will be guzzling it on the boat. It's going to be great. But thank you, Bria. Thanks to the Jazz Cruise. Thanks to Lee and Kaylee. If there's anything I didn't touch on, I'm sure you guys can comment in the video after we're done here, because the video lives on the internet, and one of us or both of us, all of us, will get back to you. Bria, tell everyone one last time where they can find you on the internet.
Yeah, I can just Google Bria Trumpet, Bria Trumpet, and you'll find way too much.
And she's on the Instagrams and the YouTubes and all that stuff. And she's pretty awesome. And
how do we find you?
JenniferWharton.com. I'm on Instagram, Jennifer Wharton. Bonegasm.com. Album April 23rd. I keep forgetting.
Yes.
Yeah. I actually, wait, look at it. It's right here. Oh, yeah, it's right there too.
Love it.
I have them. Yeah. So, all right, everyone, you have a good night. I hope you finish your bottle of wine, because I didn't say I didn't notice all the stupid stuff I was saying. So I'm going to finish this now.
I'll rewatch the video. Don't worry.
All right, Bria, you take care and give my love to Pepper and Wiley.
Will do. Thanks, everybody.